I'm sending a group of new patients your way. The head of physics tells me over the mini-port. Good, I say. We're ready for them. We have empty beds now. 3 months into the plague, things are finally tapering off, thanks to a large part to the increase in immunization provided by the rising. The scientists and pilots and workers have all done their best, and we've saved hundreds of thousands of people. It's an honor to be part of the rising. I go to the doors and let the transfer medics inside. Looks like we had a minor outbreak in one of the suburbs, one of the medics say, pushing his way in and holding on to one end of the stretcher. Sweat drips down his face and he looks exhausted. I admire the transfer medics more than almost anyone else in the rising. Their work is physical and exhausting. I guess they missed their immunization somehow. You can put him right over here, I say. They move the patient from the stretcher to the bed. One of the nurses begins changing the patient into a gown, and I hear her exclaim in surprise. What is it, I ask. A rash. The rash, the nurse says. She points to the patient, and I see red stripes along his chest. It's bad on this one. While the small red marks are more common now, then we see the rash extending all the way around the torso. Let's turn him and check his back, I say. We do. The rash extends to the patient's back. I glance down to my mini-port and enter a notation. Are the others like this? I ask. Not that we noted, the medic says. The medic and I examined the rest of the new patients. None of them exhibit the acute rash, or even have a small red marks. It's probably nothing, I say, but I'll call in one of the virologists. It doesn't take the virologist very long to respond. What do we have? He asks. His tone confident, and I haven't had much interaction with him, but I know him by sight and reputation. One of the best research medics in the rising. A variation. It looks that way. I say, an acute viral rash, formerly small and localized, is now manifesting diameters all around the torso. The virologist looks at me in surprise, as if he didn't expect me to use the right language. But I've been here for 3 months. I know which words to use, and more importantly than that, I know what they mean. We're all gloved and masked as per procedure. The virologist reaches into his case and pulls out a cure. Get me a vital stat machine, he tells one of the other medics. And you, he tells me, draw the blood sample and get a line running. It's nothing we don't anticipate, the virologist says, and I slide the needle into the man's vein. The head physic watches us from the main port of the wall. Viruses change all the time, and you can see different mutations of a single virus showing up in different tissues, even in the same body. I hook up the fluid and nutrient bag and start the drip. For a mutation to flourish, the virologist says, there would have to be some kind of selective procedure applied. Something that made the mutation more viable than the original virus. He's teaching me, I realize, which he doesn't have to do. I think I understand what he's saying. Like a cure, I ask. Could that be the selective pressure? Could we have given the new virus an opportunity to flourish? Don't worry, he says. What's more likely is that we have an immune system responding uniquely to the virus. He looks at the patient and makes the notation in the mini-port. Since I'm attending, it pops up in my mini-port as well. Rotate patients every 2 hours to prevent skin breakdown and clear the seal-affected areas and inhibit and spread of the infection. The instructions are the same as those for all other patients. Poor fellow, he says. Maybe it's for the best to stay under for a while. He's going to hurt before he heals. Should we quarantine the patient from the transfer in a separate part of the center? I asked the head physic over the port. Only if you'd prefer not to have them in your wing. He says, no, I say, We can quarantine later if necessary. The virologist nods. I'll let you know as soon as we have the results from the sample, he says. It may be an hour or two. In the meantime, start them all on the cure, the head physic tells me. All right. Nice work drawing the blood, the virologist says as he leaves the room. You'd think you were still a medic. Thanks, I say. Carol, the head physic says. You're long past due for a break. Take one now while they're running the sample. I'm fine, I say. You already extended your shift once. The head physic tells me from the port. The nurses and medics can handle this. I've started taking all my breaks in the courtyard, even bring my food out there to eat. A little patch of tree and flowers that have started to die because no one has time to care for them. But at least I'm out there. I know whether it's day or night. Also, I figured if I stay in the same place most of the time, there's more chance I'll see Lee and we can talk about our work and what we've noticed. At first, I think I'm out of my luck because she's not in the courtyard. But then, right when I'm finishing my meal, door opens and Lee comes out. Kuro, she says, sounding glad. She must have been looking for me too, which feels good. She smiles and gestures to the people in the courtyard. Everyone else has discovered this place. She's right. I can count at least 14 other people sitting in the sun. I've been wanting to talk to you, I say. Something interesting happened in our last transfer. What is it? She asks. A patient comes in with a more acute form of the rash. What did it look like? I tell her about the lesions and the virologist said and try to explain the selective pressure to her, but I do a bad job of it. Still, she catches on. So it's possible the cure caused the mutation, she says. If it even is a mutation, I say. None of the other patients have similar rash, of course. It could be that they haven't had time to manifest it yet. I wish I could see them, she says. At first I think she's talking about the patients, but then I see from her gesturing in the direction of the mountains would be all if the wall didn't block them out. I always wondered how people lived without mountains to tell them where they were. Now I guess I know. I never missed them, I say. I never missed them, I say. All we had in Oria was the hill. I never really cared for that. I always liked the little places, the lawn at first school, the bright blue of the swimming pool. I liked the maple trees and the barrels before they took them down. I want to build all those things again, but this time without the society. My other name is Xander, I told Lee, suddenly surprising us both. I don't think I ever told you that. Mine is Nia, she says. That's good to know, I say, as if it is, even though we won't break protocol with each other's first names while we're working. What I like best about him, she says, her tone has changed the subject almost abrupt, is that he's never afraid except when he fell in love with me. But even then he didn't back down. It takes me longer than usual to think of the right thing to say, before I can come up with anything. Lee speaks again. So what do you like about her? Lee asked. Your match? Of all of it, I say, everything. I hold my hand out to my sides once again. I'm lost for words. It's an unfamiliar feeling, but I'm not sure why it's so hard for me to talk about Cassia. I think Lee's going to get frustrated with me, but she doesn't. She nods. I understand that too, she says. Time's up and my break's over. I have to get back, I say. Time to see what they're all doing. This all comes naturally to you, Lee says, doesn't it? What do you mean? I ask. Taking care of people. She's looking in the direction of the mountains again. Where were you living last summer? She asks. Had you already been assigned to Cadmus? No, I say. Back then, my home was in Oria, trying to make Cassia fall in love with me. It feels like a long time ago. Why? You remind me of a kind of fish that comes to the river during the summer, she says. I laugh. Is that a good thing? She's smiling and looks sad. It comes all the way back from the sea. It seems impossible, I say. It does, she says. but they do. They change completely on their journey. When they live in the ocean, they're blue with silver backs. But when they come to get here, they're widely colorful, bright red and green heads. I'm not sure what she's thinking this has to do with me. She tries to explain. What I'm trying to say is that you found your way home. You're born to help people, and you find your way to do that no matter where you are. Just like the red fish that are born to find their way back to the ocean. Thank you, I say. For a second I think about telling her everything, including what I really did to get the blue tablets, but I don't. Time for me to get back to work, I say to Lee. And I dump the last of my water in my canteen on the new roses near our bench and head for the door. I walk along the backs of the houses in Maple Tree Borough near the food delivery tracks. Even though it's late and no meals are being delivered, I hear the soft scrape whine of the carts in my mind. When I get past Cassia's house, I want to reach out and touch one of those shutters, tap on the window, but of course I don't. I come to the common area for the borough and where the reactions area are clumped together before I even have time to wonder if the archivist is here. He appears beside me. We're right behind the pool, he says. I know, I tell him. This is my neighborhood. I know exactly where I am. The sharp white edge of the high dive looms in front of us. Our voice whisper in the humid night sounds like locust wings grating. He climbs up over the fence swiftly, and I follow. I almost say the pool's closed. We can't be here, but obviously we are. A group of people wait under the high dive. All we have to do is draw their blood, the archivist tells me. Why? I asked, feeling cold. They're taking tissue preservation samples, the archivist says. We all want control of our own. We knew this. I thought we were taking samples the usual way, I say, with swabs, not needles. We only need a little tissue. This way's better, the archivist says. They're not stealing from us what the society does. One of the women tells me, her voice quiet and calm, you're taking our blood and giving it back. She holds her arm. I'm ready. The archivist hands me a case. When I open it, it's sterile tubes and syringes, sealed away in plastic. Go ahead, he tells me. It all works out, and I have tablets to give you when you finish. You won't need to know any more than that. He's right. I won't try to understand the complicated system of trades and balancing. The certainty doesn't want to know what these people have paid here. It is a trade like this, even sanctioned by other archivists, or is a man conducting transactions on the side. What have I stumbled into? I didn't realize that the black market blood would be the price of the blue tablets. You're going to get caught, I say. No, he says I won't. Please, the woman says. I want to get home. I put a pair of gloves and prepare the syringe. She keeps her eyes closed the whole time. I slide the needle of the syringe into her vein near the crook of her elbow. She makes a startled sound. Almost done. I say, hold on. Pull the syringe back and hold it up. Her blood is dark. Thank you, she says. The nurse hands her a square of cotton. She presses it against the side of her arm. When I finish, the archivist gives me the blue tablets. And then he tells the others, we'll be here again next week. Bring your children. Don't you want to make sure you have samples for them too? Won't be here next week, I tell the archivist. Why not, he says. You're doing them a service. No, I say I'm not. The science doesn't exist yet to bring people back. If it did, I'm sure people would use it, like Patrick and Ada Markingham. There was a way to bring back their son, they'd do it. Back at home, like using a little scalpel stolen from the medical center, I perform my own surgery, like I've likely ever done. Slicing very carefully along the back of the tablets, cutting the paper from the archivist board into strips, inserting them, and holding the package over the incinerator and melt the adhesive back together. It takes almost all night, and in the morning I wake up to the sound of screaming in the burrow is to take Kai away. Not long after that, Cassia leaves too. Thanks to me, she's got the blue tablets to take with her. I walk back to the wing and check on my patients. Any adverse reaction to the cure? I ask. The nurse shakes her head no. 5 of them are responding well, but the rest, including the patient that has the rash, are not. Of course, it's still early. She doesn't need to articulate what we both know. Usually we've seen some sort of response by now. This isn't good. Has anyone else manifest the rash? We haven't checked since they came in, she says. It's been less than an hour. Let's do it now, I say. We turn the patients over carefully, nothing. We turn another, nothing. But the third patient's rash circles her entire body. Her lesions aren't yet as red as those belonging to the first patient, but the reaction is certainly atypical. Call the virologist, I told one of the medics carefully. We turn the woman back over and I catch my breath. Blood seeps from her mouth and nose. We have a patient of different symptoms. I tell the head physic over the port. Before he can answer, another voice comes on my mini port. The virologist, Carol, yes. I analyze the viral genome from the patient with the circumferential rash. He says, it revealed an additional copy of the neural insurrection envelope protein gene. Do you understand what I'm saying? I do. We have a mutation on our hands.